When Evil Lurks is an exercise in how much you can push the boundaries in the horror genre. In fact, the last time I've seen a movie like this that is pushing the boundaries of horror was probably The Exorcist. And I'd even argue that When Evil Lurks is a better spiritual sequel to The Exorcist than the painfully forgettable Exorcist Believer. When Evil Lurks is a hard movie to recommend to just anyone, but if you're a fan of horror, then I'd say this is a must watch. If you're not a fan of horror, then please stay far away from this movie. When Evil Lurks takes place in a remote village, two brothers find a demon-infected man that's just about to give birth to evil itself. They decide to get rid of the body only to end up unintentionally spreading chaos. So the biggest thing I love about this film is actually something that maybe other people might not highlight. I'm sure a lot of people will highlight the gore and effects and the scares. And trust me, we'll get to all that in a bit. But actually, the thing I love most about this movie is the world building. I'm going to go into mild spoiler territory here, so I just wanted to give you that warning. The biggest surprise this movie has is that it has a fascinating world to discover. The movie takes place in a world where God is dead and churches are no longer in operation. Not only that, but everyone understands what a possessed person is and what they look like, as well as the rules on how to handle a possessed person. As an audience member, we're so used to other possession movies where someone gets possessed and their loved ones spend half the movie's runtime trying to convince other people that their loved one is possessed, whether it's doctors or the church. Those movies always spend a lot of time with that plot point. But this movie completely throws that away. Everyone knows and understands how serious it is when someone near them is possessed. And I love that. And the world building doesn't stop there because the movie dishes out rules. And I love me some movie rules. One of the scariest aspects of the rules in dealing with the possessed is that you can't actually kill them. Or rather, you have to kill them in a super specific way. So many times in this movie, they tell each other they can't just shoot the possessed because it'll only make things worse. There's a scene early on in the film with Farmer Ruiz and his pregnant wife. Ruiz discovers a possessed goat on his farm and he has it at gunpoint. His wife begs him not to shoot it. Ruiz doesn't listen and shoots the goat's face off. The wife immediately kills her husband before taking an axe to her own head, killing herself. I saw some people confused with why she did that, but my interpretation was that, again, everyone knows the rules, so she tells him not to shoot the goat, so when her husband does shoot the goat, she knows that by doing that, it's going to make things worse. So in order to stop the spread, she quickly kills him and herself. That was my take on the scene, but let me know if you got something else from that scene. It's a terrifying idea that when evil is manifesting, there's really nothing anyone can do except to seek out those who specialize in destroying the possessed, and those people are hard to come by. So yeah, in short, the world building is incredible and a complete surprise. With the world building out of the way, we need to talk about the gore and effects. As I said in my opening, this is a movie that pushes boundaries on what you can show in a horror movie. This is a movie where no one is safe, and that includes children. I feel like there's this unwritten rule in Hollywood that you don't fuck with children, but apparently When Evil Lurks did not get that memo. And we find that out the hard way early on in a scene that involves a dog. The way this scene is executed is so damn confident that I just want to give them a pat on the back. When Pedro, our protagonist, realizes that evil is spreading in the farmland, he hightails it to a nearby city to his ex-wife's house. His plan is to get a change of clothes, load his children in the car, and get far away from the city. When he enters his ex-wife's house, he immediately starts taking off his clothes while arguing with his ex-wife's new husband. As he's taking off his clothes, the family dog starts sniffing the clothes. And the movie just puts in like very quick cuts of the dog sniffing the clothes. It's something that we as an audience member can quickly register, but aren't really paying attention to because at the same time, Pedro is having an intense argument with the husband. Then moments later, we see the dog playing with the young daughter. And it's then we start to put two and two together. The more the movie shows the dog next to the little girl, the more we start to get that light bulb moment of, oh no, the dog. Then without warning, the dog pounces on the little girl and shakes her around like a rag doll. And we see it. It's totally horrifying. The moment the movie shows this horrible death of a young child, I knew all bets were off. And sadly, children dying in horrific ways doesn't end here. There's a scene later on in the third act that involves the mother of the boy and the boy walking down a dirt road that is truly shocking. The movie shows these acts of violence in such a real and honest way, and it's elevated by its incredible effects and makeup work. The possessed man in the beginning, let's call him Puss Man, is something to behold from an effects point of view. The effects team who worked on When Evil Lurks deserves so much credit for their work here. Another aspect I appreciate about the film is how it starts. This is a movie that starts fast, and it's up to us, the audience, to keep up with what's happening and to soak up all the information being thrown at us. And I love that. The movie doesn't treat us like stupid people and try to painfully explain what's happening with exposition scenes. Instead, the movie trusts us and trusts that we will piece together what's happening. The movie goes to an interesting place in the end when they find someone who specializes in eradicating the possessed. And the way the movie ends is so bleak and depressing that it leaves you in a bummer mood afterwards. Now, I will talk about the ending here, so this is your chance to dip out if you haven't seen it yet. So here's my take on the ending. Pedro was supposed to kill Uriel, aka Pussman, in a super specific way, but instead, he kills Uriel by bashing his head in. It was explained earlier in the film that the possessed is a host to true evil, and in order to prevent the evil from breaking out from the host, the possessed must be killed in a certain way. So when Pedro just kills Uriel, evil itself is now born. Then evil and the children go off into the world to raise hell. Completely defeated, Pedro goes home. It's here in the ending that he realizes his special needs son is now possessed. Then we see Pedro walk out into his lawn screaming in agony, implying that maybe Pedro just killed his son. So by the time the ending comes around, Pedro has lost all of his children, his wife, his mother, and has released evil onto the world. Man, it's gotta suck to be Pedro, am I right? In the end, When Evil Lurks is a crazy ride for a horror film. It's a vile, disgusting movie, and dare I say, a mean one. It's not a movie for everyone, but for those who love horror, I think there's a lot here to get under your skin. It's easily one of the most effective horror films I've seen in quite some time. This is not a safe movie. This is a movie that pushes not only the boundaries of what you can show in a movie, but also pushes our boundaries as an audience member. Because rest assured, some of the imagery in this movie is so disturbing that you won't forget it.